Operation Orion, a secret police operation launched in 2002 to destroy Comuna 13 in Medellín, Colombia, highlights the difficult balance between a government's responsibility to protect its citizens from violence and terrorism and its duty to respect individual rights and freedoms. Through its tactics, Operation Orion served as a horrific example that upholding justice requires careful consideration of human rights. While many historians argue that the citizens of Comuna 13's rights were undermined and destroyed, others say that the Colombian government did what it had to do to destroy its reputation of being the notorious murder capital of the world.
On December 1st, 1949, in Rio Negro, Colombia, Pablo Emilio Escobar was born to a school teacher and a farmer, growing up in the small town of Envigado. By the 1970s, he entered the cocaine trade, building a drug empire that supplied 80% of the world's cocaine. Pablo was ultimately the founder and leader of the Medellín cartel. Pablo, also known as El Patron, made the decision to betray close allies who helped him rise to power, fearing they would turn against him. These betrayals and his increasing violence turned friends into enemies and eventually led to his downfall, where he was shot and killed atop a Medellín rooftop on December 2nd, 1993. However, his life created a historical impact for the future of Comuna 13, with the Medellín cartel continuing to kill hundreds of people while releasing havoc on the community. Prior to Operation Orion, Comuna 13 reached a homicide rate peaking at 381 per 100,000 people in 1991, over 6,500 murders that year, and ongoing fights including guerrillas, paramilitaries, and cartels, leading to 370 disappearances.
After the death of El Patron, guerrilla gangs and paramilitary continued the war in the favelas of Medellín. Specifically, Comuna 13, one of 16 communes in Medellín, home to more than 200,000 Colombians, was one of the main war grounds. In the 1900s, Comuna 13 was run by violent drug trafficking organizations who used the poor, sprawling hillside barrio as a transit route in and out of the city and served as a stronghold for guerrillas, gangs, and paramilitaries. Tons of cocaine were smuggled through Comuna 13 every month, fueling the global drug trade and making the cartels millions upon millions of dollars. Gangs like the remnants of the Medellín cartel recruited children as young as 12 years old to serve as lookouts, couriers, or even hitmen. The drug cartels controlled every aspect of life in Comuna 13. They set up checkpoints to monitor who entered and left the neighborhood. Anyone suspected of being disloyal or working with the police could disappear overnight. This area became a key battleground for rival drug gangs fighting to control the drug trade. It was so chaotic that the police rarely entered, and when they did, they faced heavy resistance. People who lived there were trapped in fear, with no escape. La Escrambera, a dump site in Comuna 13, has been a place of constant complaints by relatives of the disappeared and social organizations, as it was said that several dozen, perhaps hundreds of missing people lay under its rubble. Alone, there were over 1,000 reported kidnappings in Medellín, many of them tied to cartel operations in Comuna 13. Schools and businesses were forced to close, and families stayed indoors, terrified of bullets suddenly raining down on them. By 2002, nearly 50% of the population in Comuna 13 lived in extreme poverty.
On October 16, 2002, the Colombian government launched Operation Orion, one of the largest military offensives in urban Colombia. The operation was meant to take back Comuna 13 from drug cartels, guerrilla groups, and paramilitaries who had turned the neighborhood into a stronghold of violence. Over 1,500 soldiers, police officers, and intelligence agents participated in the operation, using helicopters, tanks, and heavy artillery in an assault that lasted for around a week. For the 200,000 residents of Comuna 13, it was a terrifying and life-changing event. During that week, the streets of Comuna 13 became a war zone. At least 9 confirmed civilians tragically died, however, hundreds more are suspected of being killed. Nearly 100 civilians were injured, many of them from raining bullets and explosives. More than 300 people were arrested, many of whom had no connections to criminal groups, and thousands of residents went missing. Fear gripped the residents of Comuna 13 as gunfire and explosion echoed day and night. the military conducted house-to-house searches, detaining men, women, and even teenagers suspected of collaborating with cartel groups. Families hid wherever they could, under beds, in closets, or in basements. The operation wasn't just a fight against cartels. However, it was a coordinated effort against the guerrilla groups like the Revolutionary Armed Forces and the National Liberation Army. Over 400 homes were damaged, some completely destroyed by artillery or tank fire. Essential infrastructure like water lines and electricity grids were also heavily damaged, leaving thousands without power or clean water for weeks. In total, the operation displaced an estimated 2,000 people, forcing them to flee their homes and seek refuge somewhere else in Medellín. Despite its brutality, the government declared Operation Orion a success, claiming it had dismantled the stronghold of guerrilla and cartel activity in Comuna 13, but the price was staggering. At least 70% of casualties during Operation Orion were civilians. Families mourned their loved ones, and those who survived were left with deep trauma. The operation didn't just bring destruction, it created a lasting distrust between the residents and the government. Many in Comuna 13 felt abandoned, treated not as citizens but as collateral damage in a war they had no rights in. Human rights organizations like the Corporación Jurídica Libertad, an organization based in Medellín, estimates that over 100 legal cases have been filed related to abuses committed during the operation, including extrajudicial killings and disappearances. Was the government's decision to launch Operation Orion necessary to protect its people, or was it disregarding its respect for its citizens' individual rights and freedoms?
After Operation Orion, people were devastated, buildings were destroyed, families were broken apart, and lives were ruined. The process of rebuilding Comuna 13 began. The Colombian government stepped in to help restore order and reduce crime. One key effort was the Justice and Peace Law of 2005. This law helped demobilize thousands of paramilitary fighters, including those who had terrorized Comuna 13, making the area safer for residents. In Medellín as a whole, violent deaths dropped from over 6,000 in 2002 to less than 2,000 by 2005, showing how important this effort was in reducing crime. Another major step was improving infrastructure. The local development plan brought much-needed resources to Comuna 13. Between the years 2003 and 2007, the government invested millions upon millions of dollars into rebuilding homes, roads, schools, and parks in the area. These centers became a safe place for children and teens, helping reduce the number of young people joining gangs. In the year 2011, the government installed the Escaladas Eléctricas, a series of outdoor escalators that extend for 1,260 feet, connecting parts of the once chaotic and isolated hillside neighborhood to the city below and shortening the time up the hill. Through a combination of their own hard work, community-driven efforts, and some government help, the people of Comuna 13 transformed their neighborhood. While the rebuilding process wasn't easy, the resilience and determination helped create a safer and stronger community.
Today, Comuna 13 bursts with color and sound, a far cry from its dark past. Walking through its narrow streets, visitors are surrounded by massive murals painted on nearly every wall, each a vibrant explosion of colors. These murals, created by local artists, tell powerful stories of struggle, resilience, and hope. With over 60 large-scale artworks, the neighborhood has become a living, breathing canvas. Music fills the air as well, especially the beats of hip-hop and reggaeton. Local youth groups use music to express their experiences and dreams. Hip-hop workshops held in the community have reached thousands of kids, teaching them not just music, but also skills like teamwork and storytelling. Tourism has become a lifeline for Comuna 13. Since its transformation, more than 300,000 visitors come annually to see its art and hear its stories. Guided tours, often led by local residents, offer a chance to learn about the neighborhood's past and present. The transformation hasn't just been cultural, it's been economic too. Unemployment in Comuna 13 has dropped by over 25% in the last decade, thanks to new opportunities brought by tourism and community programs. The story of Comuna 13 reflects the responsibility of governments to ensure security while upholding the rights of their citizens. Operation Orion's legacy highlights the cost of neglecting these rights in pursuit of safety, embodying the theme of rights and responsibilities through their journey. It stands as a reminder that even in the darkest places, people can rise, rebuild, and create something beautiful for the world to see.